Hey, what's happening, guys? Dan Darrow here with another Options and Play video update. So we are through October. We are through over half of this quarter, and we still have a lot to look forward to because this coming week it's still going to be pretty packed. I know that a lot of the high-profile big tech names were this past week, but I mean, you'll see when after this video, and again, I mean, this video I only talk about some of like the like the ones that interest me and some of like the bigger setups, right? But there's still even a ton more that I'm not even going to talk about in this video. So it's just there's a lot going on. This is going to be another very busy week. We'll see how numbers look because I mean there's been definitely some mixed action. Starting to notice some trends start to appear, right? So we'll see. All right. For the open on Monday, really nothing of interest. Just kind of how it usually goes. After the close on Monday, Arista, um, about 30 to 31 points. It's a strong name coming off a solid quarter, but it's had a really big run into earnings. And I mean, if you've listened to these videos before, you know that's not really what I like. It's kind of like a bad recipe because expectations are higher, right? Option pricing typically gets elevated too as the stock turns sharply higher along with it. So it's probably going to be an avoid for me on the into the print, but I might look at it the day of its results because sometimes it gives like nice quick trade opportunities intraday. Zoom info. So about 725 is what's priced in here. Those are monthly options. Uh, Had a strong quarter, and then really just a lot of like chops had fake, but then it ended up going on like a nice extended grind higher. Um, I feel like it continues to act well, but I mean, you know, you got to imagine that there's some follow through after a strong quarter in August. So I'm definitely more bullish biased here. I guess the biggest question is what type of move to expect, and then really do the options leave much room because 7.5 or 7.25, excuse me. I know you're paying for some time value, but that's still a little bit more towards the high end of what it typically moves. For the open on Tuesday, so Pfizer. Um, About 2 points is what's priced in. I'm very interested to see how this one goes. They have had huge guidance raises back-to-back quarters, but the stock, I mean, you can see is way off its high. It's been acting pretty lousy because you know there's some people that think Delta was the last surge and the vaccine numbers aren't going to be as big next year. So I think guidance is going to be um, it's going to lead to a lot of volatility. I mean, on this also, I mean, Moderna reports next week, and BioNTech too. Um, and then to be honest, like the option pricing seems kind of modest, so I might look at a cheap volatility strategy for this one. Under Armour, about 2.25 is what's priced in. Lots of retailers been having supply chain issues. That's one of the big themes that's popped up, and I mean that might have some impact on Under Armour, right? So I've traded this one a bunch this year, and it does tend to move pretty well around earnings. So that was back here. So that was the last report. But I guess with you know everything that's going on in the supply chain and retailers, I'm more of a wait and see this quarter on Under Armour because it's kind of hard to tell what's priced in and what's not. I mean, we've seen some retailers like miss across the board and trade higher, but then other retailers which get hit. So it's really hard to get a feel for this group. And so I'll just see what Under Armour has to say and see where it is next day. All right, Activision. Sorry, Tuesday after the bell. Activision about 4.5 points was priced in. So this EA Take Two, they all report during the week, so that removes the sympathy plays, and I don't really have much of a read on any of them individually. And honestly, the only time I play the gaming stocks is really when I do sympathy plays. So
Test
I
radio,
think I
hello,
think
hello.
for me, it's
Test,
most likely
test.
going to be an avoid. Same thing with EA and Take Two. All right, APPS. So about 10.5 points was priced in. Smaller ad tech play. It's held up great, all things considered. Um, with so many questions about ad spending, right? This could be a pretty interesting report. Option pricing is pretty high, but you can see technically where it is. I mean, that big level up here. So, I mean, itself, like, I feel like it's set up well for a pretty big move, but also could be some read through for trade desk, which doesn't report till the following week, so that might be a sympathy play idea. Lyft. So about 375 is what's priced in. So this and Uber both report next week. Lyft is first, so it's definitely going to impact Uber. Stock has been sliding for a few weeks. Last quarter wasn't great either, so this is definitely more of a wait and see setup, in my opinion. Um, I haven't been very active with these two recently either, so I'd rather wait for like a real solid setup to jump in versus like taking a shot on anything like earnings related. Zillow, so about 10 points was priced in. This could be another interesting one. It just announced they were pausing their iBuy program, which led to that drop, but then it's basically been straight up since. The stock hasn't been rewarded in earnings in a couple quarters, and I feel like it's at a pretty big spot technically. Um, but it could be a messy report, I mean, after pausing the iBuy, I mean, there's probably gonna be a lot of questions around that. So I don't know. It feels like there's room either way. I guess if I can get risk down, it might be something to look at for a low debit volatility strategy, maybe. Wednesday before the open, CVS, big healthcare name, about 375 is what's expected. Walgreens report was decent. Well, maybe not decent. It wasn't too bad. Managed care names, though, they've been a lot better this quarter. UNH, Anthem, etc. So it seems like CVS could be a decent speculative bullish idea. Option pricing is not too crazy either. Wingstop. I'm probably not going to be in this, but it's pricing about 15.5 points. Those are monthly options. The reason I bring it up is just because it can be at times like a pretty crazy restaurant stock. And I mean, that group has had all sorts of issues with food price pressure, so it could be susceptible if the quarter isn't rock solid. Wednesday after the bell, booking about 120 points. I mean, the spreads are so wide, it's kind of hard to get an accurate feel for that. But this, Expedia, Airbnb, Trivago, they all report next week, so it's going to be a big, big week for travel stocks. Um, I'll be honest, I really do not like this group for trades lately. So much good news seems to be expected, and they really, I don't know, I feel like they haven't been delivering. Um, they're probably all going to be a void for me, unless Booking like really crushes it, then maybe that could set the tone for Expedia or Airbnb later in the week. But I'm more of like a wait and see on this. I mean, TripAdvisor, they don't report next week, so you could look at that. But again, I mean, I really have not liked trading this group of travel names, so I might just be a spectator. Um, all right, let's see. So about excuse me, about 13 points is what's priced in. Um, so eBay, eBay wasn't good. Amazon wasn't good. Shop wasn't good. So what does that indicate for Etsy, right? Which is basically just off its 52-week high up here. Um, I mean, I find it hard to be crazy bullish on this, especially since last quarter's guide was already weaker, right? So it's going to depend on where it is on Wednesday, but I might look at something speculative on the bear side, just based off of the way I think these e-commerce reports have been reading out. Qualcomm. So about 7 points is what's priced in. Big semi, but it's really been acting lousy. Last quarter was actually a strong beat. That was this day here, but then they pursued an acquisition that I guess traders didn't really like, and it's been under pressure since. So maybe it's one of those lower bar setups where if they can deliver, the stock could rebound. But I guess for me, this is a less conviction trade idea. Roku, so about 27 to 28 points, what's expected. Um, uh, it hasn't had much of a bounce since last quarter, but it also wouldn't surprise me if to see some buyers show up before earnings because the last print was pretty solid, and if they can deliver this time around, there definitely appears to be some room higher because it really hasn't bounced in months. So it wouldn't surprise me, though, if that caught a bit before earnings next week. Thursday before the open, Penn. So about 5.25 is what's expected. Stock has been super choppy for months, and I guess earnings will be a shot to find some direction. But casinos, sports betting stocks, they've been very mixed recently. So I don't really have any idea which way I would even lean here. Um, Maybe sets up for volatility strategy, especially if it's a name that you trade very frequently. But for me, because I haven't been involved with it for a little bit, might just look for a quick earnings day setup, like right after the numbers come out. SSYS, so about 325 is what's priced in here. It's just been on fire, straight up since the start of October. It had a beat and raise back in August. Stock has some momentum. The expectations are probably elevated after the run it's had, but triple D, so 3D printing peer hasn't really moved much, and I feel like it could be a decent sympathy play if SSYS has another good report. Wayfair, about 25.5 points is what's expected. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to see how Wayfair wouldn't have some impact from supply chain disruptions, right? And, and it's sitting at a huge monthly level of support, right? So, I mean, this to me seems like a make or break quarter for the stock. And it's historically a volatile name on earnings, too. So it seems like a setup where it should be a mover, right? I guess the biggest issue I have is that the option pricing is kind of high. But if I can get risk down, right, get premiums down, this might be something to look at for a volatility strategy because, I mean, again, make or break quarter with the stock sitting at like a huge level technically definitely seems interesting. All right, after the bell on Thursday, so Airbnb, so like I mentioned earlier, bookings earlier in the week, Airbnb, it's on Thursday. The pricing about 12.5 points, but I'm going to see how this and I'm going to see how like Expedia, Booking, and Airbnb go because I haven't had a feel for this group and the action's been very mixed and choppy. Uh, Net. So that's some chart. Look at that thing. About 21.5 points is what's priced in. It's a big software night Thursday, and then there's like a few cyber focused plays reporting. I mean, this has been completely parabolic going into earnings with just really no news too, which is even stranger. So it's going to be an avoid for me. I mean, even if there was news on it that you could attribute to this, I would probably still be avoiding it because, like I said earlier, I really don't like when stocks have gigantic moves straight into their earnings release. Plus, the option pricing is just absolutely through the roof here. So I don't think I'm going to be involved. Datadog, so about 15.5 points was priced in. This one's also had a really big run ahead of earnings, high option pricing, so probably going to be a void for me as well. It is coming off a strong quarter, and same thing with Net coming off a strong quarter. So I mean, if these pull back, even with like good results next week, could be nice post earnings dip swing trade setups. FTNT, so about 28 points, but those are monthly options. That's what's expected. It hasn't had as big of a run as Net or Datadog, but it is also pretty close to its 52-week high. So, I mean, it's another one where it's kind of might be tough to see a ton of upside. Palo Alto could be a decent sympathy play for the group report next week, or even maybe like a CrowdStrike I might look at. Carvana, 24 points is what's priced in here. I'm curious to see what Carvana has to say because AutoNation was recently good, CarMax was recently not good, and now Carvana will be reporting. So last quarter was a beat, and stock made a new 52-week high, but it's way off that, and it does occasionally move a lot on earnings, and the pricing isn't too crazy, all things considered. So it could be a decent volatility strategy candidate. Peloton, about 9 points is what's expected. They're really going to have to deliver this quarter. Was hit on a mixed guide in August, hasn't rebounded. It's below 100, which was a longer term area of support. So it definitely seems vulnerable if this quarter is not good. The pricing's a little elevated, but at the same time, if it's surprisingly good or surprisingly bad, this could be a bigger mover. So maybe more of a speculative play, but could be something to look at later in the week. Pinterest, 5 points is what's priced in. This should really be interesting. PayPal said they're not pursuing a deal. Stock was hit very hard, and then obviously Snapchat was not good. Facebook was not good. Twitter was not good. So I mean, that probably bodes pretty poorly for Pinterest. Not to mention, Pinterest wasn't good when they last reported in July. So, um, I mean, if this rebounds ahead of earnings, it might be an opportunity to look at something speculative on the downside. But also, I'm not sure how low the bar is right now. So, I mean, it's really a hard one to gauge like how low the bar is and what type of downside there could still be left here. But it seems like a lot of things are pointing to like not a great report. Square, another big name, about 17 points is what's priced in. So after their acquisition of Afterpay, I mean, it really lit a fire in the buy now, pay later group. But Square itself actually hasn't done much of anything. Um, Square has so many moving pieces with their business that it's hard to say what drives the stock at any given time. But it does seem like it's due for a move. I typically prefer trading Square um, before events or after events, not on events, because it does give some like really nice day trades and some nice swing trades. But earnings lately have been a little bit more mixed and choppy, so I think I'm going to avoid it. But this is definitely going to be a focus for me, like maybe like the day of or even like the day after earnings. So Uber, like I said, Lyft is early in the week. They're priced in 3.5, but I mean it's definitely going to move off of Lyft, so we'll have to wait and see where it is that day. And then last on Thursday is Win. 475 is what's priced in. I thought I've read that the Macau gaming permit decision was due at the end of October. So I'm going to be watching to see if that comes out either over the weekend or even like next week. Because if it does, I mean, that's going to be a very big catalyst for the casinos, or well, LVS and Win because of the Macau operations. If it doesn't come out, then earnings probably are not going to be that interesting to me. All right, Friday before the open is really only one name, CGC. $1.25 is what's priced in. Cannabis stocks have been just horrendous. CGC, I guess, will be another opportunity to try to start some sort of rebound. You know, maybe a little bit of like a shot in the arm for the group. Tilray didn't move the needle much when they reported a couple weeks ago. Um, I mean, pricing's not bad. The chart very, very, very beaten down. Um, it does seem like it's really going to have to be a good, solid quarter for the stock to work higher. But I mean, it's late in the week. Even if the prices come down further, maybe something that's like speculative, maybe something worth taking a shot on. But I mean, the numbers have not been good. The action's not been good. The chart doesn't look good. So it's really going to have to probably surprise to the upside for it to get like a big move higher. And that's it. So again, I mean, I just talked about some of the bigger ones, but there's still a lot that I didn't even cover. So it's going to be a packed week of earnings. There's going to be a lot of news. You got the Fed, you got some bio coming up with data. So a lot to look forward to. All right. So if you like this video and you're looking for more information about trading earnings with options, please follow up with the link in the description of the video for more information on options and play. Have a fantastic weekend. Stay well, and I will talk to you on Monday.